I'm very excited to be doing this review. We've been hyping this episode for quite some time because I had heard through, I think it was the Double Toasted YouTube channel, that they had seen like through episode 8, and episode 8 was really crazy. Well, it was. Everything that occurred in this episode basically sort of reset the board, if you will. And we're going to be talking about that. This is Pulp Mythos. I'm Brian here with Larry and Spencer as usual. And if you're not subbed to the channel, please do so. Hit that thumbs up, leave a comment, do all that cool stuff. We're doing The Mandalorian currently. Give us a like over there on that video. And The Undoing, an amazing show we're really enjoying on Sunday nights. Check out those reviews. So yeah, Fargo season 4, episode 8, and we're gonna jump right into the ending, the last say 10 minutes, because there were two very important sequences that have shifted everything. Up until this point, Loy Cannon, all of his decision making, I've felt, has been really clever, really well, very strategic. I even think in this episode, all of his decisions were strategic and well planned. But he could not have accounted for two major failures. That being the first, sending in Otis to kill the outlaws and the U.S. Marshal, failing, not killing Etheridus on her escaping. So now you have all these dead civilians, cops, a U.S. Marshal. That's going to bring issues. And then secondly, trying to pull in the Fargo guys to take out the Fada brothers, because they, instead of fighting, they united. So they failed. They killed their mother and of several other people, and that's going to bite them in the ass. So where Loy was sort of on top of things the last episode, shit went really bad in this episode. I know that was a lot of stuff, and we're gonna, break it all down. But guys, just immediately gut reaction that last 10 minutes. Where's this shit gonna go?
When they shot up the house, I was thinking that it was the Irish, because there's a bunch of
texted me that.
Yeah, like, is that the Irish? You were like, no, that guy is, from one of the other seasons. That's the Fargo guys. I was like, oh shit. But when they walked into the house, it reminded me of Tombstone. Like almost immediately when they, had the big shootout and they were trying to hide, and all the people got shut up inside that building. It reminded me of Tombstone. And I think that Josto and Gaetano, because they were able to make it out of that, not only was it an unsuccessful hit, are they going to tie it back to Loy's crew? Or are they going to, get the New York guys now? Them fucking that part up, I think is going to have huge ramifications.
Well, yeah, because there were already people from New York there, and now some of the New York guys are dead. So New York may be in a state of well, it's on now. Like, we'll send you more guys, and and they may need more people from Fargo because they failed, or they might just keep the Fargo crew. But it just seems like from here on out, so much is in play that it's got to be an all-out war. There's no other option from here on out. I mean, they unified the Fada brothers, and they killed their mother. So now they both want revenge. They've got a unified front. There probably will be very few arguments about which direction they want to go, which direction they want to take their gang right now. At least not until this war is over. There won't be. It's like, and as far as what Lloyd did, I forget who says it, and hell no, I mean, it's probably from Star Trek or something. But you can do all the right things at the right time, and sometimes things will still go wrong. And that's what Lloyd did. He didn't necessarily mess up himself.
Bob from Clerks.
It's just one of those things. Yeah, he did all the right things, but he can't 100% control how competently anyone does their job, or whatever twists or turns happen. Like, he didn't know that that honestly, to save himself, Josto kind of, to some degree, needed his brother back, or otherwise he'd have to go on a flimsy excuse of, oh, my enemies killed him. He didn't know that Gaetano would do what a lot of little brothers would do, which is where he got mad, he got angry, he started thinking about things, and he's like, "Oh, I'm going to kill this guy." But by the time he got back, he had a moment to cool down. They had a fist fight, and then he's like, I forgive you. That was actually very smart, and it shows why I shouldn't be in charge." Which was which is a very realistic falling out that siblings would have. It's kind of like they wrote them like brothers. Is the sort of thing.
Yeah, I love I'm the lion, you're the snake.
Exactly. Yeah. He's like I get it. We both have our role in this. He's like, I don't think like about these things the way you do. I'm a little hot headed. I'm a man of action. So you should be the one running this.
I think he said something like, "I'm the muscle, you're the strategist," or something.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So it sort of and that was the thing Lloyd couldn't have predicted. That he'd come back and they'd be closer than ever. Which it's the sort of thing that honestly with any siblings, I don't know if you'd want to take that chance because that's a possibility. If they were ever close, and it seems like they were because it seemed like they were having a good time. They were drinking together. They were they were having a back and forth there, talking to their mother and everything. And she's very proud because they're getting along and working together and stuff. And and now he's just unified them by mistake.
So Otis screwed up as well in such a big way. If he had done what he was supposed to, everything would have been okay, But because there is a fugitive missing who will be reported as murdering a U.S. Marshal, shit is going to hit the fan. I would anticipate, I could be wrong, but I would anticipate more U.S. Marshals coming to investigate and figure out what's going on, obviously seeking out the aunt. And Otis is in the middle of all this, and I don't know how Cannon's going to view him, if he's going to consider it a failure, or I'm very curious to how that's all going to play out as well. But I would also think that the U.S. Marshals, even though, whether or not, they sent Duffy on all these, these missions, and he's probably competent and good at it. He claimed he was, but he probably was. So him dying, I would expect them saying, holy shit, they took him down, so that they're going to send in probably the big guns potentially to deal with this situation. And then obviously what's she going to do in response? She's going to want revenge, I would assume.
Right.
Well, is Otis going to become a U.S. Marshal now then?
I don't know how that works.
Well, honestly, I thought that was the angle that Otis possibly was going to play. I wasn't sure whether he was working for Lloyd at first or whether he was working with Duffy, because I saw that as a way out for him too. That maybe he'd see the sort of leeway that Duffy gets because of his position. No one wants to touch him, and maybe he saw that, given that he was cornered, that Josto expects something from him, or he's dead, or Lloyd also expects the same. I thought he may have seen I can get out of this okay if I work with Duffy and if I become a marshal. But then he went and shot him, and it's like, oh, okay, yeah, this is still part of Lloyd's plan. But he messed up. He hesitated, and and now Ethelrita's aunt is out there, and she's a danger, and this all leads to things coming to a head at one very specific place. That I think we were all wondering what was the significance of it when the series started, and that is the funeral home. Because
the big climax is going to happen right there on that street.
Oh, absolutely! It's got to be, because if you think about what's happened, okay, so Lloyd's having a funeral. His, Lloyd's gonna have a funeral for his son. He just killed, the Fadas, the mother of the Fada family. They're gonna want revenge. They're gonna want a very personal revenge, so they're gonna shoot that up. Around that time, the aunt's gonna be coming back, and she'll be on her way back, and at that same point, and I'm sure we'll talk more about this character a little later, but at that same point, we'll have Nurse Mayflower coming there as well for her revenge. So roughly every faction we have in this show is converging on this funeral home, potentially at the same time. And that sets up some very, very interesting dynamics. And like I'd go into it right now. I feel I'm jumping the gun a little bit.
No, you're great. Yeah, let's just talk about Mayflower real quick and then jump into that. We have a couple scenes with her where we learn that Dr. Harvard is not dead. They know he was poisoned, and he's basically in protective custody. She's panicking. Through her panicking, she was going to run. She discovers the journal of Etherita and now has a target. But before that, I want to talk about a scene with her and Josto where he professes his love for her. But specifically before that, they start discussing their childhood. He doesn't go into specifics, but he says basically some really twisted shit happened to him when he was with the Irish. Like I say, he doesn't go into detail. You can guess, if you know. And then she talks about how she was always sick, and her mother used to give her this special serum. So I'm thinking, okay, her mother used to poison her and fuck with her, when she was a kid, maybe. Did y'all get that too, or I thought it was interesting that they were, we're getting a little backstory that both of these characters had clearly had some stuff happen to them when they were younger.
I was thinking Munchausen immediately because that's what.
Yeah.
I mean, she's taking it a step farther and killing them, but she's doing the same thing that her mom did to her. She's trying to get these people to need her to, basically come to her in their hour of need, and they do. But what she does instead of helping them or giving them, basically Robitussin with cough syrup, she's giving them Robitussin with cough syrup and just taking them out.
Yeah, and I went the same place. I was curious about that too. I was wondering if they were going to elaborate, but I guess that's the answer that they were leaving us to kind of assume, and I doubt we'll get another word on it, after that scene. Like,
there's been several shows that have been coming out recently with the Munchausen. I saw a trailer for one called Run or something on HBO or Hulu, which is the same thing. Sharp Objects was about Munchausen. There's several shows recently that have, addressed it, and it's really fucked up.
Yeah, and speaking of that scene, like you said, we find out Dr. Harvard is alive, and she does that while Josto is there. If she weren't so panicked, she had the solution to her problem potentially right there in the room with her. But she was busy panicking and trying to get him to get out of the house so she could handle her business and everything. When in reality, Josto is the answer to her business because Josto also wants to kill Dr. Harvard, and Josto has pull with the police department. That problem would have taken care of itself if she wasn't losing her mind. She could have easily played that, and if she didn't, really, she could have pretended to reciprocate his feelings, and it's like, yeah, I care about you too. That's why I was trying to get rid of this Dr. Harvard you were talking about. It's like, but that went wrong, and I might be in some trouble. She could have played it that way.
You were saying before we were recording, Larry, we had talked about you think Lemuel, Cannon's eldest, will have an significant role to play because we get the. I mean, he's been throughout the series, and clearly his dad's got a vision for where he wants his son to be. But then in the last couple episodes, we've got him sort of looking at Etherita. She's sort of looking at him. They had a nice little scene together where they were talking about music, which is his passion. But yeah, you had some thoughts on where that may go.
Oh yeah. See, because like we said before, everything's heading towards the funeral home, and my thought is that what's going to happen here is since Lemuel is always, he's clearly very fond of Ethelrita. He's around there. He's going to be there, of course, for his brother's funeral and everything. And perhaps there will be a tray of cookies or something that he reaches for, like, and he's gonna die because we've seen that specter around Ethelrita when Lemuel shows up. It's like right behind him, if I'm correct, but it's implied that Lemuel is in danger, that he's going to die potentially due to Ethelrita's actions, and I'd say it's either through crossing Nurse Mayflower, or it's going to be because the aunt shows back up, and she's going to want to take a shot at Lloyd Cannon the same way that he took a shot at her. She's going to, like, one of the first people she sees may be Lemuel, and then she may shoot at him, or she might try to get at Lloyd and hit his son instead.
Yeah. Yeah. You have any? Yeah, Spencer. Yeah, you have any thoughts on that or any theories?
I do think that it's just going to happen on that street. I don't know what Mayflower's. I don't know what effect she's going to have on this, other than trying to kill some folks and perhaps some innocent bystanders get hit in the process. But I think that the death omen has showed up several different times now, but it's almost focusing around what's happening with the I don't remember Ethelrita's last name, but
Smutney.
That's right. That's what it was. Mm-hmm. But it seems to be following the Smutney family around, including the aunt. So for it to constantly be at the funeral home would lead me to believe that that's where the big finale is going to happen, is there. But that's also an assumption, but I think that it would make sense for it to happen there.
Yeah, and it does seem to be around the funeral home, but it happened to also be, just...
it was at the train station with Swanee, too.
Well, yeah, that's what I was going to say. Exactly. Swanee, it was looking at Swanee.
Yeah, she saw it, didn't she?
She did.
Right. Yeah.
And at the funeral home, when it was around the aunt, it was walking towards Swanee, and that's when she was poisoned by Nurse Mayflower. And, when it was at the funeral home again, it was like right over Lemuel's shoulder. So I think we can definitely say that this is an omen of death, or, or potential death in danger. But yeah, another thought about the funeral home and the events that'll happen there. Also, the aunt is already, Ethelrita's aunt is already, probably pretty unstable at this point and everything, and nobody else likely has a motive to kill Nurse Mayflower other than the aunt or Ethelrita. So, I predict in the same. Well, maybe the same episode or the episode afterwards, Nurse Mayflower will probably be killed by one of those people, because the aunt was already, while she doesn't seem to be one of the smarter characters in the show, she was smart enough to figure out that potentially the nurse across the street poisoned that pie.
Yeah. There was a scene which will set up all these interactions, I think, between Miss Cannon and Miss Smutney. They sort of have a scene to themselves, and it got me thinking, like, could they at some point could they sort of be the ones that rise up in the end, because they're having to suffer the most, both of them basically talking about how their children are having to pay for the sins of the parents, and like it's a nice little scene, but and the fact that she wants a funeral for her dead, who she believes is her dead son. He's not. But I was thinking, is there going to be a point where they're just like, we're having enough of it, and they're done? And I don't know. I was wondering if there was something being set up with that scene and that interaction.
Yeah, it's a good question, and like you said, it's two characters that are in a sort of similar situation that we've never really seen interact, and I thought it was pretty interesting. And you got a little more of Lloyd's wife's perspective in the fact that she just laid it out how it was going to go, what was going to be said, because she's clearly been through this multiple times. She's like, I can't help you. I know we're going to get into talking, and we're going to talk about how we know the same people and we grew up on the same street and this and that. She's like, but I can't help you. There's nothing I can do. And that's kind of seemingly been her life, being a bystander. Well, not necessarily a bystander, but both benefiting and also kind of being, I guess, bound by her husband's work, to this situation where, she can't really do much good. But then again, like Lloyd said, it's like, hey, you could walk away at any point from this, if you didn't want to be a part of this. That's what makes the money for their family. But it was interesting to get more of her perspective.
Yeah. Any thoughts on that, Spencer?
Yep. And I guess Spencer might be gone right now. So I guess we'll move on for now and wait for Spencer to get back.
The rabbi, no rabbi in this episode. We had rabbi and he's off with Satchel, the youngest son, Cannon's son, and he's we have no idea. His whole idea was he never wants to bring him back. He told Satchel basically there'll be a point where I'll tell you it's up to you if you want to come back or not. I'm very curious how that's going to play out. Like, you imagine they're at his funeral and he pops in. Like, is that another element that could occur?
It could well happen. It could be the sort of thing where Satchel comes back, or maybe reads about it. It would be more interesting for him to show up and just see the carnage after his funeral. But he may read about it and he may decide to never come back to this town. Because it's very clear from the beginning that this is not a life that that Satchel is accustomed to, or at least not the things that relate to his father's business. So he may want nothing to do with that. He may decide it's too to hell with it. I'm never going to come back. And another interesting. I'm glad you mentioned that scene too, because they're running and we know Calmeda is after them, and of course potentially there's a scene where they have to confront Calmeda. It's like, however, I think before even that happens, we may get a scene where they're dealing with Josto's number 2. I can't remember his name right now.
Yeah, I cannot remember his name.
The gentleman who's in the same position as Dr. Senator.
Yeah.
And because we talked about it before we started recording, but there's that whole scene where the brothers are seemingly of one mind, and they've buried the hatchet, and he doesn't seem to like the direction the gang's going. And I think it goes back to Dr. Senator's words, where it's like, you're just boys playing a game, and it's going to take a man like me to clean up the mess. And he and Dr. Senator were very close. They were, I'd imagine roughly around the same age, and they seem to be the most level-headed people in both their gangs. And he does not seem pleased with the direction that everything's going. So, given that he's the one who's in contact with Calmeda, as far as we know, because before he sent him off, he had Josto had his number 2 send him off and everything. And so, I imagine he may have a talk with Calmeda. He may try to stop this hit. He may track down Rabbi. It's hard to say what direction he's going to go, but I feel like he's going to try to fix things. But it's going to be potentially, for many of the characters on the show, too little, too late, because it's like I feel like it's just really going to pop off at that funeral home.
Yeah, definitely. And then there's the Fargo gang. Like, I don't know, was this a one and done, or are they?
Now, were those characters from previous seasons? Do you know that if they were? Because
one of them. Yeah.
I'm gonna have to go back and watch Fargo because as you know, I've never seen the movie. I've never seen any of the previous seasons.
Yeah, one is. But yeah, I don't know. They came, they did their job. Are they just gonna be like, all right, we did what we're supposed to do? Or is Cannon gonna be like, no, you screwed up, you got to come back? Yeah, I don't know, because potentially we have them still in play. Like I said, I definitely think New York's going to be sending people, and then you finally have the U.S. Marshals. I mean, there was a lot of civilians killed in that shootout. So, shit, you may get the National Guard. You know what I'm saying? Like, it may be a
Yeah.
legit situation. The amount of people that died. So
Oh,
yeah, there could be new characters introduced next week. There's still 3 episodes, so yeah, that there is potential for new main characters. I don't know.
which is shocking that there's still 3 episodes, because you have to imagine that those next few episodes are going to be just a bloodbath, unless the last episode is just wrapping everything up after the bloodbath. Uh, but yeah, we got potentially a number of factions coming in. Like I said, I'm curious to see if the Fargo group sticks around, or if they feel like, or if they're like, the deal's done. We killed a lot of them. Like a lot of his top guys are dead. Like, what else do you want us to do? Like, but if they're not going to stick around, did they take out enough people for Lloyd to have a fighting chance in this? Like, how's it going to go? Or is it going to be, like you said, a situation where we now have U.S. Marshals, the National Guard, and other factors that play here? Or is it going to be something like, they're having the funeral and everything, and they are outgunned by the Italians, and they got the New York guys, but the New York guys sweeping there early, and they get in position, but on the way in, they grab that container of Nurse Mayweather's cookies just as an act of disrespect and start munching on those before they ambush Lloyd. So the New York crew is dead already, and Josto doesn't even know it. It could be crazy what happened. It's hard to say.
Okay, we took a quick little break there. There was an edit. Spencer had fallen asleep. That's why he was out, but he's up now, and we're shooting this late at night, just so everybody's aware. We all
still have 9 to 5s and everything. Yeah.
yeah. So
Not that way. I woke up too early, and my wife gave some medicine to try and help me sleep, and it worked too fast.
So me and Larry were talking about like Rabbi and Satchel, whether or not they're going to pop back in. The crazy idea. What if Satchel pops in at his own funeral? The Fargo gang, what role are they going to play, if any? The fact that we may have new characters in the U.S. Marshals, New York. Larry talked a lot about Calmeda. Where's Calmeda going to fit into all this stuff? And finally, he talked about, I think you were asleep for this, the Josto's second, his right hand, the guy that, I can't remember the term. I don't remember the character's name, but the guy that he sent to New York.
Consigliere.
Yeah. What is his, is he going to have any role? So, yeah, we discussed those things. You have anything regarding any of that you want to talk about?
The Josto and Satchel, to me, are big, kind of a question mark, because we don't know. They didn't really show anything after episode, what was it, 7? At the end of 7, all those things happened, and then they said that they were going to try and stay out of town until everything blew over. So I don't know if that means that they're going to stay out of town, like their storyline's done until kind of shit's over. I don't know. That doesn't seem likely, given what Rabbi's done. It doesn't seem like he'll just, stay out of the way, although he is a character who has said he's all about surviving. So that may be the path that they take. The U.S. Marshals, I think that they're going to send new ones out. They may be more badass. They may be more gung-ho. Maybe all of Deafy's friends show up. I don't know. I don't think that that's a huge storyline. Just only the fact that there's going to be more heat on this whole town now that a U.S. Marshal's gone.
And all the civilians. Yeah, we also talked about
how many
civilians are dead.
That whole scene was crazy, but to me that also explains death. Like, we kept showing, we've mentioned it, every episode, where we just keep seeing one of the comments named what they thought it was. I don't remember how to pronounce that. They said that it was a spirit or something, which basically represented death. But for him to show up, because he's basically kind of only showed up around the sister, or the aunt and
The Smutnies. There's usually a Smutney or someone connected directly to them
yeah.
around. Yeah.
So, but he showed up where there was the possibility of death or death itself. So for Swanee to see death and then to let die, that I think was important. But I don't know if he's going to play a big role later or not. I think it's kind of like an omen.
Speaking of funeral homes and death and everything, like Brian, did you come up with the idea of Satchel showing up at his own funeral and then potentially walking away because there's nothing left? Because that's probably a good idea. That's probably a way that they sort of symbolically show that it's the death of his old life.
I didn't think it super through like that, but I did think of about the idea that they're holding a funeral for a character that's not dead, and this Cohen style is all very dark humor, and the fact that somebody would come to their own funeral,
right?
But yeah, I don't know. That we still have 3 episodes, which feels like a lot. Considering where the series is at, like you feel like everything's about to explode, but we essentially have 3 hours of television left. So, there's a lot of time for things to happen.
Well, we've had the main characters. It seems as though most of their stories could be wrapped up in an episode, but then towards the end, you had the Fargo crew come down, the U.S. Marshal gets shot, so now they have a lot more question marks that are getting ready to kind of pop up. And so now, thinking 3 more episodes with as many new things that can happen makes a little more sense, because prior to the very end of this episode, I was like, well, it seems as though they're tying up the stories. Like, how the hell are they going to have 3 more episodes? And then, of course, a bunch of civilians get shot. Deputy dies. Fargo shows up.
Yeah, you're right. So much happened in that period of time that I didn't even think about the number of police officers that died in this episode, because which begs the question here. It's like, is Otis like the sole remaining cop in Fargo right now, or because there can't be many left, and with what happened at the train station, the number of civilians and most of a police station seemingly dying. You mentioned the National Guard, so now I'm seeing more potential for that to happen. Yeah,
because definitely something like that could happen.
There's a lot that could happen in these next few episodes.
I've gone through all my notes. Is there any other topic on this episode y'all want to discuss before we wrap it up and Spencer goes to sleep?
Probably happen here shortly. I don't think so. The vibe I'm getting just from the show is I was just gonna make a joke. Never mind. I was just gonna make fun of some movie that Larry hasn't seen. I was just gonna name a bunch of like Godfather, The Wire, but it's. I do think that.
Oh, so you can make a Goodfellas reference and I'd get it, or any other mob movie that has ever existed.
Unless Josto goes into witness protection, which he
might.
He whisked out there at the end. That might be a thing.
Well, I mean, yeah, Josto seemingly, like, yeah, that was my question too. During that scene, like, did Josto have a gun on him? Because if he didn't have a gun on him, that made sense. If he did, well, I mean, it made sense either way, because Josto carries around like a pistol with him. Like, and they were coming at him with machine guns. So I'm not going to call him on that too much, but you do have to commend Giatano. He's not 100% the coward I thought he was.
Yeah, you're right. This episode proved that he was willing to die in the fight.
Like he was scared when he was facing the unknown, and Ethelrita's aunt and her girlfriend were coming after him when he didn't know what was happening. But the minute that there's full on like machine gun fire, and he sees his enemy, he was pretty brave.
But
So
well, he talked about being in the war, World War II. I think that probably played a lot into what was going on right there. And he also, I think he finally established what his role was. After Lloyd tried to send him against Josto, Gaetano basically made peace with being the muscle. He knows that Josto is the smarter of the two, but he's going to accept his role as basically just being the muscle and the enforcer, which is what he's saying. I don't know 100% whether or not that's actually how he feels or what's going to happen, but
yeah, because honestly, Josto, well, given what we know about Josto now, he might be like, okay, yeah, sure, if this keeps you under control, he's like, I got better enforcers, honestly, but like, but
I don't
yeah,
know if he does now though.
he probably doesn't. He probably doesn't. That's true. That's a good point.
But yeah, the episode, lived up to the hype. It was crazy. I think the analogy I used was, the chessboard that was set up was, slapped off the table and a new one was set up because everything that we ended episode 7 with, everything's reshuffled and it's a whole new game now. And as I said, 3 episodes left. Very excited. Anything else, guys?
No, that's it.
Like I said up front, if you've not subbed to the channel, please do so. We were right on the edge of 200. We were at 199 last I checked, so we're really close to 200. Obviously, we're trying to grow the channel as big as possible, but a lot of growth lately. Very appreciative of that. Hit the thumbs up, leave a comment, do all those things. Check out our Mandalorian review, and we'll see y'all next week.
Bye.
Bye.